Hey there, I know how overwhelming emotional pain can be. It's like being caught in a storm, waves of sadness, anger, or confusion crashing over you when you least expect it. Whether it's heartbreak, grief, or disappointment, emotional pain can leave you feeling stuck and exhausted. But what if instead of fighting the storm, you could learn to ride the waves? Mindfulness offers us that opportunity. By tuning into the present moment and gently observing our emotions, we can start to heal, find peace, and eventually move forward. Today, I want to guide you through using mindfulness to heal from emotional pain. It's not about ignoring your feelings or rushing to get over it. Instead, it's about allowing yourself to feel, process, and grow. And remember, healing doesn't mean going back to the way things were. It means creating something new from where you are. As Lao Tzu said, new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. So, let's take this journey together, one mindful step at a time. Embracing the pain instead of avoiding it. It's human nature to avoid pain. When we experience emotional hurt, whether it's from a breakup, the loss of a loved one, or a personal failure, our first instinct is often to distract ourselves. We throw ourselves into work, binge-watch TV, scroll endlessly on our phones, or find other ways to numb the feelings. And who can blame us? Pain is uncomfortable. It can feel overwhelming and unbearable at times. But here's the hard truth. Avoiding emotional pain doesn't make it go away. In fact, it often prolongs the healing process. When we distract ourselves, we're essentially pushing those feelings down, where they simmer and wait for the next quiet moment to bubble back up. It might feel easier in the short term, but in the long run, avoiding pain keeps us stuck. This is where mindfulness offers an alternative path, one that requires courage but ultimately leads to healing. Instead of running from our pain, mindfulness teaches us to turn toward it, to face it with compassion and curiosity. This doesn't mean wallowing in sadness or becoming consumed by anger. Rather, it's about acknowledging what we're feeling without judgment and giving ourselves the space to experience those emotions fully. Take the story of Jessica, for example. She had just gone through a difficult divorce, and the emotional fallout was overwhelming. She tried everything to distract herself, long hours at work, socializing constantly, and throwing herself into new hobbies. But every time she found herself alone, the grief would return, stronger than before. She was caught in a cycle of avoidance that wasn't allowing her to heal. One day, Jessica decided to try something different. She turned to mindfulness meditation after hearing about its benefits for emotional healing. At first, the practice was uncomfortable. Sitting in stillness meant facing the flood of emotions she had been avoiding. But over time, she learned to simply observe her grief without pushing it away. She would sit in silence and acknowledge, "I am feeling sadness," or "I am feeling loss." By naming these emotions, Jessica began to experience a sense of distance from them. They were still there, but they no longer felt as overwhelming. This shift allowed her to start healing. She wasn't running from her pain anymore. She was facing it head-on, and in doing so, she took back control. Her emotions no longer dictated her life. Instead, she was able to process them in a healthy, mindful way. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but step by step, Jessica found peace. Mindfulness teaches us that emotions are like waves. They rise, they peak, and then they eventually fall. They are not permanent, and they don't define us. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, our power lies in how we respond to emotional pain, not in avoiding it. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our emotions without getting swept away by them. This is the key difference. Instead of drowning in sadness or anger, We learn to acknowledge our feelings in a simple, non-judgmental way. Try saying to yourself, "I am feeling hurt," or "I am feeling anxious." By labeling the emotion, you create space between you and the feeling. This act of naming gives you the power to step back and observe it, rather than being controlled by it. So how can you begin this process for yourself? Start by finding a quiet moment. Sit in stillness, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself, what am I truly feeling right now? Be honest. You don't need to have the answers or fix anything in that moment. The goal is simply to observe without judgment. Whether you're feeling hurt, sadness, frustration, or even relief, notice it. Take a few more deep breaths and just sit with the emotion. You might feel uncomfortable at first, but trust that this simple act of acceptance is incredibly freeing. It's a reminder that your emotions don't control you. You have the power to observe them with kindness. And in that observation, you create space for healing to begin. By embracing the pain instead of avoiding it, you take the first step toward moving forward. Finding your strength in stillness. In a world that encourages constant movement and distraction, we often feel pressured to keep going in the face of emotional pain. However, true healing doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from stillness. Mindfulness offers us the space to pause, to breathe, and to observe our emotions without rushing to fix or escape them. In that quiet, we discover a deeper kind of strength. The strength to simply be with our pain. Imagine standing in the eye of a storm. The winds and rain may be swirling around you, but in the center, there is calm. This is what mindfulness feels like. Finding stillness within, even as emotional turmoil rages outside. The breath becomes your anchor. When pain feels overwhelming, focusing on your breathing, inhale deeply, hold, and exhale slowly, grounds you in the present. This practice calms your nervous system and creates a small but powerful space between your emotions and your response to them. Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This space is where mindfulness lives. It allows us to pause before reacting, offering the opportunity to meet our emotions with grace rather than resistance. Over time, this stillness builds resilience. Instead of running from discomfort or fighting against it, mindfulness teaches us to sit with it, trusting that emotions are temporary and will pass. The Taoist concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action, reflects this wisdom. It's about flowing with life's natural rhythms, embracing what arises without pushing or forcing change. In these moments of stillness, we discover that pain, though uncomfortable, does not define us. We are not our emotions. We are the observers of them. By simply breathing and observing our feelings without judgment, we begin to see that we are strong enough to endure discomfort. This practice strengthens our ability to face future challenges with calm and clarity. Next time you feel overwhelmed, take a moment to sit quietly and focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, hold, and exhale slowly. This small pause creates room for reflection and resilience. Over time, you'll find that this practice transforms how you relate to emotional pain, not by erasing it, but by giving you the strength to endure it with grace. Practicing self-compassion. When you're going through emotional pain, it's all too easy to be hard on yourself. Perhaps you've had thoughts like, "Why am I still feeling this way?" Or, "I should be over this by now." This inner critic can be relentless, making you feel as though you're somehow failing for not moving on fast enough. But here's an important truth. Healing is not linear, and it certainly doesn't follow a set timeline. There is no right amount of time to process grief, loss, or heartache. You are allowed to take as long as you need to heal. Mindfulness invites us to approach our pain with compassion rather than criticism. This shift in perspective can be transformative. Instead of berating yourself for feeling hurt, mindfulness encourages you to pause and ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What do I need right now to feel supported? This inquiry opens the door to self-compassion. It changes the focus from judgment to care, allowing you to attend to your needs with kindness and understanding. Buddhist teacher Jack Kornfield once said, "If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete." This quote highlights a crucial point. We are often far more willing to show compassion to others than to ourselves. Yet, when we're in pain, it's just as important to offer ourselves that same kindness. Think about how you would treat a close friend who is struggling. Would you tell them to just get over it, or criticize them for being vulnerable? Of course not. You'd likely offer them comfort, understanding, and patience. Self-compassion means extending that same care inward. When you're in emotional pain, it's essential to remember that being gentle with yourself is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a vital part of the healing process. Vulnerability is a human experience, and it's okay to feel sad, hurt, or lost. Accepting your emotions with kindness rather than frustration allows you to heal at your own pace, free from the pressure of needing to move on quickly. One powerful way to cultivate self-compassion is through the practice of loving-kindness meditation. This form of meditation is designed to foster feelings of goodwill and compassion toward yourself and others. Here's a simple way to start. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and silently repeat phrases like, "May I be kind to myself. May I find peace. May I be patient with my healing." These words are more than affirmations. They are invitations to connect with your own humanity and to soften the harsh inner voice that might be criticizing you. At first, this practice might feel awkward or even forced, especially if you're used to being hard on yourself. But with time and repetition, loving kindness meditation can gradually shift your mindset. You'll start to notice that the critical voice in your head grows quieter, replaced by a more compassionate, supportive inner dialogue. This shift is not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about creating a long-term habit of self-compassion, one that nurtures your emotional well-being. As you engage in this practice, remember that healing is a journey, not a destination. Some days will feel lighter, while others might feel heavy. On those harder days, self-compassion is what helps you stay grounded. It reminds you that you don't have to have all the answers or be fixed right away. All you need is the willingness to meet yourself where you are, with kindness and understanding. In moments when you're feeling overwhelmed by your emotions, take a breath, place your hand on your heart, and return to those words. May I be kind to myself. May I find peace. May I be patient with my healing. With each repetition, you're not just offering yourself comfort, you're cultivating the inner strength that comes from truly caring for yourself. And in that care, healing becomes not only possible, but sustainable. Through mindfulness and self-compassion, you can navigate your emotional pain with grace, knowing that healing is not a race, but a process that unfolds in its own time. Be patient with yourself, and trust that this gentle approach will lead you toward peace and renewal. Letting go and moving forward. Letting go is undeniably one of the most difficult yet liberating things we can do in life. Emotional pain has a way of anchoring us in the past, often making us feel that by holding on to it, we are somehow staying connected to what or who we've lost. Whether it's the pain of a broken relationship, the grief over a loved one, or the disappointment of unmet expectations, we cling to the hurt because it feels familiar. It becomes part of our identity. But here's the truth. Clinging to pain doesn't honor what you've lost. It only holds you back. Letting go does not mean forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. It's not about denying the impact the event had on you. Instead, letting go means choosing to no longer let that pain control your present or dictate your future. It's a conscious decision to release the emotional weight, freeing yourself to move forward. In doing so, you create space for new experiences, growth, and healing. In mindfulness, we practice non-attachment, a concept rooted in the recognition that all things, emotions, thoughts, and even life circumstances, are temporary. This aligns closely with the Taoist philosophy of Wu Wei, which translates to effortless action, or flowing with the natural course of life. It teaches us to stop resisting what is, and instead embrace life's natural flow. When you stop fighting the reality of your emotions or circumstances, you free yourself from the struggle. It's in this surrender that true peace and healing can begin. One of the greatest spiritual poets, Rumi, once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." This beautiful quote reminds us that letting go is not about erasing the past, but about allowing something new to emerge. When you release your grip on the pain, you make room for the light of new beginnings to enter your life. Your wound, your pain, becomes a source of transformation. Of course, letting go is easier said than done. It's a process that takes time, patience, and a willingness to face the discomfort of release. A practical tool to help you start this process is journaling. Writing down your emotions, your thoughts, and even the things you feel attached to can be incredibly powerful. Seeing your pain on paper creates a sense of distance from it. You realize that these thoughts and emotions are not permanent. They are experiences passing through you, not defining you. Journaling can also help you uncover patterns in your thinking that keep you attached to the past. It allows you to reflect on the emotions or memories that you're holding on to, and to gently question whether these attachments are still serving you. Over time, as you continue to write, you may notice a subtle shift. The grip of the past loosens, and you start to feel lighter, more open to the possibilities of the present. Letting go does not happen all at once. It's a gradual process of release. You may have days where the pain feels distant, and others where it resurfaces sharply. But with mindfulness and self-compassion, you learn to observe these fluctuations without becoming overwhelmed by them. Each time you let go, even just a little, you move closer to freedom and healing. By practicing non-attachment and allowing life to flow, you stop carrying the weight of the past into your future. Letting go isn't about removing the memory of what happened. It's about transforming your relationship with it. It's about choosing peace, choosing growth, and choosing to live fully in the present moment. As you begin to release the hold of past hurts, you open yourself to the light of new possibilities, creating space for joy, connection, and renewal. Moving on with intention. As you begin to heal from emotional pain, a pivotal step is deciding how to move forward. With intention. Moving on doesn't mean leaving behind everything you've experienced. Instead, it's about making conscious choices about what you want to carry with you and how you want to shape your future. Healing offers an opportunity to reflect on what this experience has taught you. What lessons have emerged from your pain? What strengths have surfaced in moments of vulnerability? This process of moving forward isn't about erasing the past, but about integrating the lessons and growth it brought. Every painful experience can be a teacher if we allow it. As you reflect on your journey, ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like moving forward? And how can this experience shape me for the better? This kind of introspection is where healing turns into transformation. Mindfulness plays a key role in this process. It helps you become aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, empowering you to make intentional choices rather than drifting aimlessly. Moving on with intention means setting clear, mindful goals for your next steps. These goals don't have to be grand or ambitious. They can be as simple as practicing gratitude daily, spending more time with people who uplift you, or committing to a self-care routine that nourishes both your body and mind. For example, gratitude is a powerful tool for shifting focus away from pain and toward what brings you joy. By taking just a few moments each day to reflect on the things you're thankful for, no matter how small, you cultivate a mindset of abundance rather than lack. This shift can bring you back to the present, where healing and growth truly happen. Similarly, surrounding yourself with people who support and nurture you helps to reinforce your inner strength, reminding you that you don't have to go through life alone. As you set these intentions, it's also important to remember that healing is not about perfection. There will be days when the past feels heavy, and that's okay. What matters is your willingness to stay on the path, making mindful choices that align with your values and well-being. The Dalai Lama beautifully expressed this when he said, "Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions." Moving on with intention means acknowledging that you have the power to shape your life, even after experiencing pain. It's about taking responsibility for your healing journey and deciding how you want to live, despite the challenges you faced. Every choice you make, whether it's focusing on gratitude, nurturing positive relationships, or creating space for self-care, is a step toward a life rooted in peace and resilience. Each small, intentional act builds emotional strength and opens the door to greater fulfillment. Ultimately, moving on with intention is about living fully in the present moment, without being weighed down by the past. It's about embracing the future with clarity, purpose, and a renewed sense of hope. You are not defined by your pain. You are defined by how you grow from it and the life you choose to create moving forward. With mindfulness, you can shape that life with intention, one step at a time. As you walk this path of healing, remember that every step, no matter how small, is a testament to your resilience. In the spaces between heartache and hope, you are slowly rediscovering your strength. Healing is not about erasing the past, but about embracing your ability to rise from it with newfound clarity and grace. It's in this quiet unfolding that the greatest transformation begins. Healing from emotional pain is not something that happens overnight. It's an ongoing journey, not a fixed destination. It requires time, patience, and most importantly, self-compassion. But with mindfulness as your guide, you can navigate this path with a sense of grace and inner strength, trusting that brighter days are on the horizon. Remember, your pain does not define you. You have within you the capacity to heal, to grow, and to build a life that is rooted in peace and joy. Take each step, each breath, with mindfulness, knowing that healing happens one moment at a time. Along this journey, you'll discover that even in your pain, there is room for beauty, for hope, and ultimately, for profound transformation.